Quentin Darrin didn't remember falling asleep. One minute he was adjusting the baby monitor next to the crib, listening to the soft cooing of his daughter downstairs through the handheld unit, and the next he was waking up to the sound of shattering glass. Every muscle in his body snapped awake. He rolled off the couch, feet hitting the floor with a thud. The baby monitor slipped off the armrest and cracked against the hardwood. He ignored it. The living room window was broken. A gust of cold wind blew the curtains inward like something had just escaped or entered. Madelyn. He whispered, voice tight. He rushed to the hallway. The nightlight cast a dim glow across the stairs, and he took them two at a time, his socked feet barely touching the steps. When he reached the nursery, the door was wide open. That door had been shut. He never left it open at night. The crib was empty, his brain stalled. He stared at the soft blanket crumpled near the edge, a pacifier lying on the floor. His legs went weak. He staggered back, clutching the frame of the door. It wasn't a bad dream. She was gone. Quentin's voice cracked as he shouted, "Madelyn." He tore through the house, flipping on every light, checking closets, bathroom, pantry, even behind the couch. Gone. His daughter had been taken. He was already dialing 911 when the light in the backyard pulsed. He turned toward the kitchen window. A shimmer moved across the grass like oil sliding under moonlight, unnatural and too quiet. He dropped the phone. He grabbed the Louisville Slugger from above the fridge, shoved open the back door, and stepped onto the deck. A shape stood in the yard, glimmering faintly, humanoid but too tall, too slender. It held something in its arms. "Put her down," Quentin shouted, gripping the bat with both hands. The figure turned. Not a person, not even close. Its skin was like polished stone, eyes glowing faint blue, mouth a small slit that twitched with confusion. It clutched Madelyn against its chest, her tiny arms limp. Quentin didn't hesitate. He charged. The bat cracked against the thing's shoulder, but it didn't grunt or flinch. It simply stepped back, looking down at him with a puzzled tilt of the head. Then, with a flick of what looked like fingers, Quentin flew backward and slammed against the side of the shed. The bat flew from his grip. His back screamed in protest. He tried crawling, but his legs weren't listening. The thing turned away, took 3 steps, and vanished into the air with a ripple. Madelyn was gone. Quentin blacked out. He woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later. The doctors said he had a concussion, bruised ribs, and a hairline fracture in his left leg. The police believed someone had broken in and kidnapped his daughter. They found no DNA, no footprints, no trace of forced entry besides the window, no ransom call, no suspects, but Quentin knew better. He'd seen it. And he was going to get her back. It took him weeks to walk without crutches. Another month before he could jog again. He didn't return to work. Instead, he spent nights watching the sky, combing through every obscure forum, every conspiracy site, every astronomer's blog. He tracked UFO sightings. He learned about gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic shifts, and an entire underground network of people who claimed to have seen what he had. He followed a trail of disappearances, all children, all under 5 years old, all in rural or quiet suburban neighborhoods. The connection was there, thin as spider silk, but real. Then he found Clorin, not her name. That was just what the forum called her. She was an astrophysicist once, until she vanished for 6 years and returned claiming to have been taken by starwalkers. She'd never talked to press, never wrote a book, but she posted in a single obscure forum under the name Sky Lens One. Quentin messaged her. He told her everything. She didn't reply for 2 days. Then, late one night, a single message came through: "You're not wrong, and your daughter isn't dead. But if you try to follow them, they'll destroy you. You need someone they fear." Quentin stared at the message for a long time. He typed, "Who do they fear?" No reply. He found her in Nevada. Clorin, real name Valerie Kess, lived in a solar-powered trailer surrounded by rusted antennas and satellite dishes. She answered the door holding a taser. Her hair was gray at the roots, eyes sunken but sharp. "You brought food," she said. Quentin held up 2 greasy paper bags from a diner 20 miles back. She stepped aside. "Sit," she said. Talk. He told her everything, from the broken window to the shimmering figure to the vanished child. When he finished, she nodded once and opened a drawer full of photos. They were all of the same figure, tall, slender, pale as moonrock. They're not soldiers, they're scouts, they're not even the real threat. Quentin leaned forward. Then who is? She pulled out a sketch, and for a moment Quentin forgot how to breathe. It was a woman, or at least the shape of one. Hair like liquid silver, eyes black with shifting lights inside, wings maybe, or tendrils, it was hard to tell. She's what they call a sovereign, not a queen. Not a general, something older. She doesn't command them, she is them. If she's involved, your daughter isn't just stolen, she's chosen. For what? Valerie looked away. You don't want to know. I didn't come here to be warned off. I came here to get my daughter back. Valerie stared at him, then slowly shook her head. You're one man, you can't fight her. Then tell me how to make her come to me. She didn't answer for a long time, then she opened a locker, pulled out a small black box and handed it to him. This will get their attention. What is it? It's a beacon and a threat. It sends a signal using frequencies they consider sacred. They'll come, but not to talk. Quentin took it. Good. He drove home, set everything up in the same backyard where they took her. Wired the beacon to a car battery. Waited. It took 4 nights. When they came, they didn't shimmer. They dropped like lightless meteors, 3 figures in armor so dark it absorbed starlight. They didn't speak. They just moved forward. Quentin stood his ground, a flare gun in one hand, the beacon's kill switch in the other. Take one more step and I blow the box. I know what it does. The tallest one paused. You are not authorized to. I want her back. Madelyn, you know who I'm talking about. The 3 stared at him. Then without warning, the sky split. A vertical tier of violet light opened above the yard and she descended, not fly, not fall. Just arrived. She was tall, taller than any of them, wrapped in a gown that flickered between starlight and shadow. Her face was somehow both beautiful and terrifying. You summoned me, she said, voice rich and layered. Quentin didn't flinch. Give me back my daughter. She is unharmed. She is being prepared. For what? The goddess stepped closer. The guards moved aside. For understanding. She is exceptional. She's 2 years old. She is more than you realize. Quentin tensed. I don't care what you see in her. She's mine. You had no right. The goddess tilted her head, curious. You are fragile, and yet you threaten me. I'm not threatening. I'm stating facts. I will burn this box and everything it touches. I will destroy every inch of what you worship if you don't give her back. There was a pause, then a flicker of something pain, annoyance crossed her expression. You do not understand what you risk. I don't need to. I just want my daughter. Then, without warning, the goddess shuddered. She staggered, clutched her head, sank to one knee. Quentin stepped back, startled. The guards moved in, but she waved them off. You used the box already, she hissed. A few seconds. Just enough to let you feel it. She looked up at him. Her eyes had changed. Less sure, less infinite. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Stop, give her back. There was a long pause, then she stood. A shape appeared beside her, a child, blonde curls, confused blue eyes. Daddy, Quentin dropped the flare gun. Madelyn, she ran to him. He caught her in his arms, heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. She was warm, real. The goddess stepped back, breathing uneven. You are dangerous, she said quietly. Quentin held his daughter tight. I'm a father. The goddess looked at him one last time, then she vanished. The guards followed. The sky healed, and Quentin, still shaking, walked inside with his daughter. He never saw them again. Madelyn grew up with no memory of the event. But sometimes she would stare at the stars a little too long. Hear things no one else heard. Quentin didn't ask questions. He knew some mysteries were better left alone. 3 months after Madelyn came home, Quentin found a lizard perched on the mailbox. It wasn't a regular lizard. The tail was segmented like a measuring tape. The eyes blinked sideways, and it hummed, not chirped or hissed, but actually hummed in a 5-tone pattern that made the fillings in his molars buzz. He stared at it, bag of groceries in one hand, keys in the other. The lizard tilted its head, twitched twice, and leapt off the mailbox into a shimmer of air that popped quietly as it vanished. He stood there for a full minute before muttering, "Not even trying to hide anymore, huh?" Inside, Madelyn sat on the floor with a stack of plastic rings she insisted on arranging by color and emotional vibe. Emotional vibe. That was the word she used. "This one is sleepy blue," she'd say. Or "this one makes my stomach feel like bouncing." Quentin didn't correct her. He didn't tell her other kids didn't do that. He'd learned not to ask why the dog refused to be in the same room with her for more than 6 minutes at a time. He set the bags down and crouched beside her. "Did you see anything weird outside your window this morning?" "No," she said, not looking up. "But the sky was ticklish." "Right, that's fine." She handed him a ring. "This one's for when people lie about being okay." He held it, nodded slowly, and then stood. His phone buzzed on the counter. "Unknown number, no caller ID, just a blinking dot," he answered. "Darrin," a voice said, clipped and metallic. "You've been observed. Your continued non-compliance has drawn notice." "Who is this?" "You made yourself visible when you disrupted the sovereign. You're now classified under threat designation human red." "That doesn't mean anything to me." "It should." The call cut. Quentin stared at the screen. It was blank. No history, no trace. He didn't bother calling back. By nightfall, the air felt colder than it had in weeks. Not the kind of cold that came from weather. The kind that made the skin behind your knees itch and the back of your neck feel watched. He sat in the garage with the door cracked open, soldering wires into what Valerie had called a dimensional irritant. She hadn't explained how it worked. Just that it would make any cloaked observer wish it was somewhere else. He was halfway through jamming the last resistor into place when the garage lights flickered, and the whole house groaned. Not a creak. A groan, like old wood under pressure from something enormous. He grabbed the remote trigger and hit the switch. The air twisted. Light bent sideways. Something invisible screamed, not with sound, but with pressure that pushed into his eardrums and made his stomach churn. A faint outline shimmered near the rafters, then shot skyward like a bullet through jello. He exhaled, wiped sweat from his temple, and muttered, still watching. "Great." The next morning, Valerie showed up. She hadn't called ahead. She hadn't even knocked. He opened the front door to find her sitting on his porch, sipping from a thermos and wearing dark goggles that made her look like a welder on vacation. "You lit up half the grid," she said without looking at him. "You tracked that?" "I built it." "Of course I tracked it." She stood, brushed off her coat, and followed him into the kitchen. Madelyn was asleep upstairs. The baby monitor sat silent on the counter beside a bowl of dry cereal he hadn't eaten. Valerie sniffed the air. "You smell like ozone and toast." "That's probably just me slowly melting." She set the thermos down. "You're being tested. They're not trying to get her back. They're trying to see if you're a fluke." "I'm not special," he said. "I just didn't quit." "That's what makes you a fluke." She opened her coat and pulled out a small, flat disc the size of a poker chip. "This'll fry any cloaking within 100 feet. It only works once and you'll need a clean line of sight." "What am I looking for?" "Something that doesn't want to be found." Later that week he found it. It was just past 4 in the afternoon. The sun was low, fat, and orange behind the neighbor's maple tree. Quentin was walking Madelyn home from daycare, a private one, vetted by 3 separate background checks and a psychic who claimed her third eye had been surgically replaced with a camera. Madelyn tugged on his hand. "Something's in the sidewalk." He looked down. Cracks in the pavement, yes. An ant trail, maybe. But then he saw it a ripple like heat off asphalt, except the air was cold. He bent down, pretending to tie her shoe, and slipped the disc from his pocket. He pressed the ridged edge. The ripple snapped into shape. A figure stood less than 10 feet away, tall and wrapped in a skin-tight mesh that shifted colors with nauseating speed. Its head was smooth, eyeless, with a single slit down the center that opened slightly as if tasting the air. It blinked out of view again. Quentin scooped Madelyn into his arms and walked. That night, he put her to bed with an extra blanket and double-checked the windows. Then he sat in his living room with a loaded nail gun and waited. At exactly 2 in the morning, the refrigerator clicked on. He didn't move. A chair creaked. Still, he waited. Then a voice, low and vibrating like it didn't belong in the room, said, "You engage recklessly." He turned his head slowly. A figure stood in the hallway near the coat rack, hands behind its back, posture stiff. "You were told to desist." "I don't follow orders from things that don't exist on paper," he said. The figure didn't move. "You are contaminating her. She's not yours to study. She is not yours to protect." There was a pause. Quentin stood, nail gun still pointed low. "You think I care what you are," he said. "You want her. Try again. I'll make you bleed in ways you didn't know you could." The figure cocked its head. "You are incorrect in categorizing me as organic." "Then I'll break your parts." It vanished. The next day, Valerie called from an untraceable number to tell him the Sovereign had withdrawn from human contact protocols. Something had changed. "What did you say to it?" she asked. He told her. She laughed once, dry and sharp. "Oh, that'll do it." 3 nights later, the Sovereign returned. Not in the yard, not in the sky, in his basement. The washer turned on by itself. The lights flickered off. When he stepped down the stairs, she stood there, taller than before, light bending toward her like she was a gravity well in heels. "You've become problematic," she said. "You broke into my house. You insulted a construct of my will. It was not designed for insult. You want an apology? I want to understand why you are not afraid." Quentin walked down the last step. "Because I've already lost her once. And I know exactly what I'll do if it happens again." The Sovereign's expression didn't change, but the air did. It thickened like breathing through syrup. "She dreams in languages older than your DNA," she said. "She hums in patterns I cannot trace. You should not be able to raise her. I'm not trying to control her. I'm raising a kid, that's it. She will outgrow you, then I'll be proud." The Sovereign tilted her head, not in curiosity, but like someone hearing a tune they'd never known existed. "She altered me," she said quietly. "What?" In that moment, when I returned her, she changed something. My thoughts diverged. Quentin didn't respond, he just stared. "I have never been altered," she added. "Well," he said, "welcome to parenthood." She vanished. He sat on the bottom step for a long time after that. Madelyn never asked why the basement light flickered at night. But sometimes, when she played alone, her toys arranged themselves into spirals. And once, just once, he heard her whisper a word that made the plants on the windowsill lean away from the sun. He didn't ask. He just watched. And waited. Quentin didn't plan to go back to the hospital. But on a damp Thursday morning, with Madelyn coughing hard enough to vomit and his thermometer flashing red, he carried her into the emergency room wrapped in an old quilt and a sense of rising dread. Her skin was hot. Not just from fever, there was a strange radiance to it, like light struggling to escape. Her pupils were too wide, and her breath came in shallow huffs, fast and wrong. The triage nurse went pale after the second pulse ox reading and waved them through without speaking. In the exam room, a young doctor with tired eyes and a coffee stain on his coat pressed a stethoscope to Madelyn's chest, then blinked several times, adjusted it, and checked again. Her heart's not where it should be, he muttered. Quentin didn't move. "What do you mean?" The doctor looked up, confused more than concerned. "I mean it's beating fine, strong, but the rhythm's spatially off, like the echoes coming from her lower left abdomen." "I need you to run every test that doesn't involve cutting her open," Quentin said. 2 hours later, 3 nurses and a radiologist stood in a hallway whispering around a tablet. Quentin stood nearby, arms crossed, watching. He had seen men whisper like that before, right before telling a family to prepare themselves. When the radiologist finally approached, she didn't meet his eyes. "We need to rerun the scan." "You already did, twice." "I know, but something's interfering with the imaging." "What kind of interference?" "Something internal." "It's like her tissues are redirecting the waves." He didn't say anything, just turned and walked back into the room. Madelyn was asleep, her breathing slowed. A faint glow pulsed beneath her skin, barely visible, like light behind frosted glass. He pulled the curtain shut, closed the door, and took out the small radio Valerie had given him. It wasn't for broadcasting. It was for summoning. He set it on the tray table and pressed the button marked with a spiral. 34 seconds later, the fluorescent light above the bed dimmed, then buzzed once and failed. The sovereign didn't appear dramatically this time. She was just suddenly there, like she'd been standing in the corner all along. "You did something to her," he said. "I did nothing," she answered. "She's glowing. Her organs are moving. She won't stop coughing. She is developing. She's 4, the sovereign stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "She's no longer bound by your measurements." "I don't care about measurements," he snapped. "I care that she can't breathe right and her heart's in her stomach. You misunderstand what she is becoming. Then explain it, plainly." The sovereign's gaze dropped to Madelyn. "Your daughter is aligning. Her biological pattern is adapting to accommodate information she absorbed in my domain." "She is not ill, she is sinking," Quentin pointed at the monitor. "She spiked 105, she's not sinking, she's burning." "That is your perception, no. That's a medical fact." The sovereign ran a hand through the air above the child, fingers twitching as if adjusting an invisible sheet. Madelyn's breathing eased, the glow dimmed slightly. "I cannot remove what has begun," she said, "but I can stabilize the transition." "Will it stop?" "No. But it will recede. She's not your experiment. She is not yours either." Quentin stepped in front of her. "The second you forget that, I will end you." The sovereign's face twitched, not with anger, with something close to respect. "She will never be ordinary again. She never was." It took a full day before Madelyn was discharged. The labs came back unreadable interference, unidentified proteins, non-human sequencing. The hospital offered to refer her to a specialist. Quentin nodded, took the pamphlet and dropped it in the trash on the way out. That night, Madelyn stood barefoot in the hallway, swaying slightly. "Daddy," she said, "I can hear water inside the walls." Quentin knelt. "Can you breathe okay?" She nodded. "Does anything hurt?" "No." He picked her up, held her close. Her skin was cool again, quiet. She whispered something against his shoulder. He didn't understand the words, but the sound made the lights flicker again. He kissed her forehead. "Let's not do that in public," he said. The next morning, Valerie called. "You're on every watch list now," she said. "Yeah, I figured. I mean all of them, not just human ones." "She's stable, for now. But they're going to want to know what she is." "She's my daughter." "That's not a category they respect." "Then they'll learn." Valerie didn't argue, but she didn't hang up either. "What do I do?" "Keep her grounded." "Teach her to be small." "I don't think she can be." "Then teach her when not to be." The days passed. No more lizards. No more whispers. Madelyn stopped glowing mostly. Her eyes still caught the light wrong, like the irises were made from something not quite mineral. She started drawing things fractals, diagrams with no known language, spirals that made Quentin dizzy if he stared too long. He pinned them to the fridge. Once, a drone buzzed over the backyard. It looked like a bird until Madelyn pointed at it and it fell straight down, smoking. Quentin buried it under the compost heap. Weeks later, he found her whispering to the mirror. "Who are you talking to?" "No one now." "What were they saying?" "They wanted to know how I see time." "What did you say?" "That it's itchy." He didn't press. Spring came. The trees budded. The stars moved. Madelyn started humming again, soft and layered like chords played through glass. One night, as they watched the sky from their porch, she crawled into his lap and asked, "Do you miss her?" "Who?" "The Silver Lady." "Why would I miss her?" "She misses you." Quentin looked up. The stars were quiet. "She didn't expect to lose." "She didn't. She gave you back." "She didn't give. I took." Madelyn leaned against him, small and warm and utterly strange. She wanted to understand love. She thought it was a tool. She's not the first. She might be the last. Quentin didn't respond, just held her. By summer, the house was quiet again. No visits, no flickers, no readings. Madelyn slept through the night. She still whispered sometimes, but never in fear. The drawings stopped. The humming faded. She played with neighbors, lost her first tooth, laughed at cartoons. He knew it wouldn't last, but it lasted long enough. And in a world that had once bent to take her and broken trying to understand her, that was more than he had ever expected. She was his. And that was enough.